Hello, my name is Elizabeth. I'm going to be reading from this right here. There it is. It says the Holy Angels Edition. So the first book of Maccabees. Chapter 1. The Conquest of Alexander the Great. Now it came to pass, after that, Alexander the son of Philip the Macedonian, who first reigned in Greece, coming out of the land of Chetham, had overthrown Darius, king of the Persians and Medes. He fought many battles, and took the strongholds of all, and slew the kings of the earth. And he went through even to the ends of the earth, and took the spoils of many nations. And the earth was quiet before him. And he gathered a power and a very strong army, and his heart was exalted and lifted up. And he subdued countries of nations and princes, and they became tributaries to him. Alexander divides his empire and dies. And after these things he fell upon his bed, and he knew that he should die. And he called his servants, the nobles that were brought up with him from his youth, and he divided his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. And Alexander reigned 12 years and died. And his servants made themselves kings upon And his servants made themselves kings, every one in his place. And they all put crowns upon themselves after his death, and their sons after them many years. And evils were multiplied in the earth. Antiochus the Illustrious. Okay. So I'm going to probably mispronounce a lot of names. I'm really sorry about that. But Illustrious, I looked up the meaning. In Greek, it means epiphanies or to manifest. And Antiochus is to deprive, to oppose, anti, against. Okay, and Antiochus was a Seleucid king who aggressively pushed Hellenization to unify his empire. Okay, so Seleucid sounds like, I don't know, to me, I just felt that. And then civilization, and then there's Hellenization, so I don't know. So anti-manifest, Antiochus Illustrious, anti-manifest. Okay. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus the Illustrious, the son of King Antiochus, who had been a hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. Wickedness in Jerusalem. In those days there went out of Israel wicked men, and they persuaded many, saying, Let us go and make a covenant with the heathens that are round about us, for since we departed from them, many evils have befallen us. And the word seemed good in their eyes. And some of the people determined to do this, and went to the king, and he gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathens. And they built a place of exercise in Jerusalem, according to the laws of the nations, and they made themselves prepuces, and departed from the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathens, and were sold to do evil. Okay, so I don't know about you guys, but prepuces? I don't know. So English translation is foreskin. Okay, so they made themselves foreskin. I was like, what else? So the Greek translation says, what covers the extreme end. So I encourage anyone, when you're reading the Bible, if something is just off-putting, you're just like, that, what? Keep trying, because the answers are there, and it made a lot more sense. Okay, the extreme end of evil. In this case, right? They were sold to do evil. Okay. Antiochus takes Egypt. And the kingdom was established before Antiochus, and he had a mind to reign over the land of Egypt, that he might reign over 2 kingdoms. And he entered into Egypt with a great multitude, with chariots and elephants and horsemen, and a great number of ships. And he made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt. Okay, Ptolemy, an influential Greco-Roman mathematician, astronomer, and geographer. Oh, shoot. He proposed the earth was the center of the universe. And to me, the earth being the center of the universe, it just kind of sounds like the heart chakra. So, green, you know. Ptolemy meaning warlike, aggressive. So, I don't know. I just like looking up names and what they mean. Okay, but it says a number of ships, and he made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt, but Ptolemy was afraid at his presence and fled, and many were wounded unto death. And he took the strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took the spoils of the land of Egypt. Antiochus profanes the temple in Jerusalem. And Antiochus had ravaged Egypt in the 143rd year, and he returned and went up against Israel, and he went up to Jerusalem with a great multitude, and he proudly entered into the sanctuary. I'm so sorry, I stutter. Okay. And he proudly entered into the sanctuary, and took away the golden altar, and the candlestick of light, and all the vessels thereof, and the table of proposition, and the pouring vessels, and the vials, and the little mortars of gold, and the veil, and the crowns, and the golden ornament that was before the temple, and he broke them all to pieces. And he took the silver and gold, and the precious vessels, and he took the hidden treasures which he had found. And when he had taken all away, he departed into his own country, and he made a great slaughter of men, and spoke very proudly. Great mourning in Jerusalem. And there was a great mourning in Israel, and in every place where they were. And the princes and the ancients mourned, and the virgins and the young men were made feeble, and the beauty of the woman was changed. Okay, so feeble, lacking physical strength, vitality, or mental vigor, often due to age or illness. So the young men and women, virgins, young, were made feeble as though they were old and sick. Every bridegroom took up lamentation. I need to stop writing so big. This is ridiculous. Lamentation, the passionate outward expression of grief, sorrow, or regret, often manifested through wailing, tears, music, poetry. It says ritualized mourning, often characterized by breast beating or loud expressions of grief. So when it said that, I don't know, I had to put that because it just reminded me of like CPR and how we can press on someone's chest to revive them. I don't know. So I just thought of that. I thought that was important. And every bridegroom took up lamentation, and the bride that sat in the marriage bed mourned, and the land moved for the inhabitants thereof. And all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. Jerusalem ravaged. And after 2 full years the king sent the chief collector and his tributes to the city of Judah, and he came to Jerusalem with a great multitude, and he spoke to them peaceable words in deceit, and they believed him. And he fell upon the city suddenly, and struck it with a great slaughter, and destroyed much people in Israel. And he took the spoils of the city, and burnt it with fire, and threw down the houses thereof, and the walls thereof round about. And they took the woman captive, and the children, and the cattle they possessed. And they built the city of David with a great and strong wall, and with strong towers, and made it a fortress for them. And they placed there a sinful nation, wicked men, and they fortified themselves therein. And they stored up armor and victuals, and gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, and laid them up there. And they became a great snare. Okay. Snare. Often a noose to trap an animal, or a metaphorical trap designed to entangle or deceive. I don't know why my voice just is like Anyway. Or a metaphorical trap designed to entangle or deceive. As a verb, it means to catch or entangle. Okay. I'm sorry, I was looking at my notes and I'm trying to figure out how I got to the part right here. Okay. All right, get it together. Okay, translations also include trampa, trap, or kepo, snare, and jinn in Spanish. So, jinn. Translation for jinn is genie or tazini. In Kurdish, jinn means woman. So, yeah. Genie in a bottle. Who can manifest? I don't know. Alright, guys, this is heavy. Okay. Oh God, please help me find where I was at. Struck with great slaughter, and they took the spoils. Okay, thank you. All right. And this was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary and an evil devil in Israel, and they shed innocent blood round about the sanctuary and defiled the holy place, and the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled away by reason of them. And the city was made the habitation of strangers, and she became a stranger to her own seed, and her children forsook her. Her sanctuary was desolate like a wilderness. Her festival days were turned into mourning, her Sabbath into reproach. Okay. Reproach, disgrace, insult, shame, slander, meant to discredit, often used in biblical context to describe suffering or persecution of righteousness, mockery, or defamation. Okay. Her honors were brought to nothing. Her dishonor was increased according to her glory, and her excellency was turned into mourning. Edict to abolish the Jewish religion. And the king Antiochus wrote to all his kingdom that all the people should be one, and everyone should leave his own law, and all nations consented according to the word of King Antiochus. And many of Israel consented to his service, and they sacrificed to idols and profaned the Sabbath. And the king sent letters by the hands of messengers to Jerusalem and to all the cities of Judah, that they should follow the law of the nations of the earth, and they forbid holocausts and sacrifices and atonements to be made in the temple of God, and should prohibit the Sabbath and the festival days to be celebrated. And he commanded the holy places to be profaned, and the holy people of Israel profaned, ungodly, irreverent, or common. It refers to improperly assessing what should be set apart. I can't even read my own damn writing. I need to get a typewriter, huh? Well, I'm stumbling on that too, so shoot. I don't know. I just need to take a breath, I think. Okay, so improperly assessing what should be set apart. So profaned. Yeah, ungodly. Yeah. Common, apparently. Okay. Okay. And he commanded altars to be built, and temples, and idols, and swine's flesh to be immolated. Immolated, to destroy or kill, typically by fire as a ritual sacrifice or intense protest. Okay, so flesh to be immolated and unclean beasts. And that they should leave their children uncircumcised. So we already... Oh. I've had to redo the video a few times. I thought I'd already explained. I did not. This is the new one. Okay, so uncircumcised. Individuals outside God's covenant, or figuratively, those with a stubborn or disobedient heart, a lack of spiritual receptivity or obedience to God. So it's not talking about so much as, receptive, lack of spiritual receptivity or obedience to God. And I like that they put with a stubborn or disobedient heart, because I know a few, and I know you do too. Okay. And that they should leave their children uncircumcised. So leave them stubborn and disobedient. That's great. Makes sense how we got here. And let their souls be defiled with an uncleanliness and abominations, to the end that they should forget the law, and should change all the justifications of God, and that whosoever would not do according to the word of King Antiochus should be put to death. Okay, defiled, to make common, pollute. It's unclean. Justifications: a person righteous and acquitted and free from guilt. Okay, persecution of the Jews. According to all these words, he wrote to his whole kingdom, and he appointed rulers over the people that should force them to do these things. And they commanded the cities of Judah to sacrifice. Then many of the people were gathered to them that had forsaken the law of the Lord, and they committed evils in the land, and they drove away the people of Israel into lurking holes and into secret places of fugitives. The awful sacrilege of Antiochus. On the 15th day of the month of Casleu, sacrilege, the act of robbing temples, plundering sacred items, or profaning what is considered or concentrated to God. Yeah, definitely need a typewriter. This is ridiculous. Okay, Casleu, the 9th month of the Jewish ecclesiastical year, and the 3rd of the civil year, typically November and December. Okay, so get this. King Antiochus. Okay. On the 15th day of the month Casleu, in the 145th year, King Antiochus set up an abominable idol of desolation upon the altar of God. So in around November, December type, they set up an abominable idol of desolation upon the altar of God. Ho, ho, ho. And they built altars throughout all the cities of Judah round about, and they burnt incense and sacrificed at the doors of the houses and in the streets. And they cut in pieces and burnt with fire the books of the law of God. Probably this one. Yeah. And everyone with whom the books of the testament of the Lord were found. That'd be me. And whoever observed the law of the Lord, they put to death. Wow. According to the edict of the king. Thus, by their power, did they deal with the people of Israel that were found in the cities month after month. And on the 5 and the 20th day of the month, they sacrificed upon the altar of the idol that was over against the altar of God. Now the women that circumcised their children were slain according to the commandment of King Antiochus. And they hanged the children about their necks in all their houses, and those that had circumcised them they put to death. Many mortars in Israel. And many of the people of Israel determined with themselves that they would not eat unclean things, and they chose rather to die than to be defiled by unclean meats. And they would not break the holy law of God, and they were put to death. And there was a very great wrath upon the people. Sorry, that last part about the children always, heated. Mattathias and his sons. In those days arose Mattathias, and the son of John, and the son of Simon, a priest of the sons of Jorib from Jerusalem, and he abode in the mountains of Modin, and he had 5 sons, John, who was surnamed Gadius, and Simon, who was surnamed Thasi, and Judas, who was called Maccabeus, and Eleazar, who was surnamed Abiron, and Jonathan, who was surnamed Aphas. These saw the evils that were done in the people of Judah and in Jerusalem. Okay, so I looked up individually all those names. Just for time's sake, I'm not going to go into all of them, but they all say gift of God. God has been gracious, hearkening, listening to God. And Jorib, who was listed here as like the, so it says denotes a priestly family head, and that's true in this case. That's how he was. Okay. Yeah, the sons of Jorib. Okay. So names are interesting. Take some time. The lamentation of Mattathias. And Mattathias said, Woe is me! Wherefore was I born to see the ruin of my people and the ruin of the holy city, and to dwell there? When is it given into the hands of the enemies? The holy places are come into the hands of strangers. Her temple is become as a man without honor. The vessels of her glory are carried away captive. Her old men are murdered in the streets. Her young men are fallen by the sword of the enemies. What nation hath not inherited her kingdom, and gotten of her spoils? And her ornaments are taken away. She that was free is made a slave, and behold, our sanctuary, and our beauty, and our glory is laid waste, and the Gentiles have defiled them. To what end then should we live any longer? And Mattathias and his sons rent their garments, and they covered themselves with haircloth, and made great lamentation. Mattathias asked to worship a false god. And they that were sent from King Antiochus came here to compel them that were fled into the city of Modin to sacrifice and to burn incense, and to depart from the law of God. And many of the people of Israel consented and came to them. But Mattathias and his sons stood firm. And they that were sent from Antiochus answering said to Mattathias, Thou art a ruler and an honorable and great man in this city, and adorned with sons and brethren. Therefore come thou first, and obey the king's commandment, and all nations have done. And the men of Judah, and they that remain in Jerusalem, and thou, and thou and thy sons shall be in the number of the king's friends, and enriched with gold, silver, and many presents. So you just try to bribe them, like, look, leave your God, come over here, and we have presents. Presents, like, what? Got a present for you. Mattathias defies Antiochus. Then Mattathias answered and said with a loud voice, Although all nations obey King Antiochus, so as to depart every man from the service of the law of his fathers and consent to his commandments, I and my sons and my brethren will obey the law of our fathers. God be merciful unto us. It is not profitable for us to forsake the law and the justices of God. We will not hearken to the words of King Antiochus, nor will we sacrifice and transgress the commandments of our law to go another way. Mattathias slays an adulterer. Now as he left off speaking these words, there came a certain Jew in the sight of all to sacrifice to the idols upon the altar in the city of Modin, according to the king's commandments. And Mattathias saw and was grieved, and his reins trembled, and his wrath was kindled, according to the judgment of the law. And running upon him, he slew him upon the altar. Moreover, the man whom King Antiochus had sent, who compelled them to sacrifice, he slew at the same time, and pulled down the altar, and showed zeal for the law, as Phinehas did by Zimri the son of Salami. Mattathias, I have to just say now because I've already made a thing. It kind of looks like salami. Sorry. I'm only human. Mattathias flees to the mountains, and Mattathias cried out in the city with a loud voice, saying, Every one that hath zeal for the law, and maintaineth the testament, let him follow me. So he and his sons fled in the mountains, and left all that they had in the city. Then many that sought after judgment and justice went down into the desert, and they abode there, they and their children and their wives and their cattle, because afflictions increased upon them. Antiochus's army slays 1,000 Jews. And it was told to the king's men and to the army that was in Jerusalem in the city of David, that certain men had broken the king's commandment, were gone away into the secret places in the wilderness, that many were gone after them, And forthwith they went out towards them, and made war against them on the Sabbath day. And they said to them, Do you still resist? Come forth and do according to the edict of King Antiochus, and you shall live. And they said, We will not come forth, neither will we obey the king's edict to profane the Sabbath day. And they made haste to give them battle. But they answered them not, neither did they cast a stone at them, nor stopped up the secret places. So they didn't even barricade the doors, they just... Okay. Saying, Let us all die in our innocency, and heaven and earth shall be witness for us, that you put us to death wrongfully. So they gave them battle on the Sabbath, and they were slain with their wives and their children and their cattle, and the number of 1,000 persons. Mattathias to fight even on the Sabbath. And Mattathias and his friends heard of it, and they mourned for them exceedingly. And every man said to his neighbor, If we shall all do as our brethren have done, and not fight against the heathens for our lives and our justifications, they will now quickly root us out of the earth. And they determined in that day, saying, Whoever shall come up against us to fight on the Sabbath day, we will fight against him, and we will not die, as our brethren that were slain in the secret places. His army begins to fight against idolatry. Then they assembled to them the congregation of the Assyrians, the stoutest of Israel, every one that had a good will for the law, and all they that fled from the evils joined themselves to them, and were a support to them. And I just really like how this is chapter 2, but this is verse 44. So the part I'm about to say is 44. 44 is a very special number. A sequence of fours is sequence. That's a big word. And they gathered an army and slew the sinners in their wrath, and the wicked men in their indignation, and the rest fled to the nations for safety. So 144 from the stars, a tarot reader that I love so much. So I'll just read that verse again. And they gathered an army and slew the sinners in their wrath, and the wicked men in their indignation, and the rest fled to the nations for safety. Okay. And Mattathias and his friends went round about, and they threw down the altars, and they circumcised all the children whom they found in the confines of Israel, that were uncircumcised. And they did valiantly, and they pursued after the children of pride, and the work prospered in their hands. And they recovered the law out of the hands of the nations and out of the hands of the kings, and they yielded not to the horn of the sinner. They yielded not to the horn of the sinner. There's a lot of horns on your way when you're finding your path. Okay. Mattathias' final instructions to his son. Now the days drew near that Mattathias should die, and he said to his sons, now hath pride and chastisement. Okay, so I'll just see. Chastisement, education, child training, discipline. Okay. Now hath pride and chastisement gotten strength, and the time of destruction and the wrath of indignation. Indignation, intense annoyance or righteous displeasure at injustice. So, now therefore, my sons, be ye zealous for the law. Okay, well, zeal it can mean passion, or it could mean jealousy. So it just, it depends. And obviously this one would be passion. And give your lives for the covenant of your fathers, and call to remembrance the works of the fathers, which they have done in their generations, and you shall receive great glory and an everlasting name. Was not Abraham found faithful in temptation? And it was reputed to him unto justice. Joseph, in the time of his distress, kept the commandment, and he was made Lord of Egypt. Phinehas, our father, by being fervent in the zeal of God, received the covenant of an everlasting priesthood. Jesus, while he fulfilled the word, was made ruler in Israel. Caleb, for bearing witness before the congregation, received an inheritance. David, by his mercy, obtained the throne of an everlasting kingdom. Elias, while he was full of zeal for the law, was taken into heaven. Ananias and Azarias and Misael, by believing they were delivered out of the flame. Daniel, in his innocency, was delivered out of the mouth of the lions, and thus considered throughout all generations, that none that trust in him fail in strength. None that trust in him fail in strength. And fear not the words of a sinful man, for his glory is dung and worms. Today he is lifted up, and tomorrow he shall not be found, because he is returned into the earth, and his thought is come to nothing. You, therefore, my sons, take courage and have manfully and behave manfully in the law. For by it you shall be glorious. This will get easier for me. Mattathias names Judas Maccabeus the leader. I need to just stop worrying about how stupid I might sound and just keep, like, who cares? Yeah, I sound stupid, so what? Everything I'm saying is definitely far from, so, except for when I go on a rant. I'll work on it in private. And behold, I know that your brother Simon is a man of counsel. Give ear to him always, and he shall be a father to you. And Judas Maccabeus, who is valiant and strong from his youth up, let him be the leader of your army, and he shall manage the war of the people. And you shall take to you all that observe the law, and revenge ye the wrong of your people. Render to the Gentiles their reward, and take heed in the precepts of the law. The death of Mattathias. And he blessed them, and was joined to his fathers. And he died in the 146th year, and he was buried by his sons in the sepulchres of his fathers in Modin. And all Israel mourned for him with a great mourning. Chapter 3. Judas Maccabeus, leader of Israel. Then his son Judas, called Maccabeus, rose up in his stead, and all his brethren helped him, and all they had that joined themselves to his father. And they fought with cheerfulness the battle of Israel. And he got his people great honor, and put on a breastplate as a giant, and girt his warlike armor about him in battles, and protected the camp with his sword, the valor and strength of Judas Maccabeus. In his act he was like a lion, and like a lion's whelp roaring for his prey, and he pursued the wicked, and sought them out, and them that troubled his people he burnt with fire, and his enemies were driven away for fear of him, and all the workers of iniquity were troubled, and salvation prospered in his hand. And he grieved many kings, and made Jacob glad with his works, and his memory is blessed forever. And he went through the cities of Judah, and destroyed the wicked out of them, and turned away wrath from Israel. And he was renowned even to the utmost part of the earth, and he gathered them that were perishing. Judas defeats Apollonius. And Apollonius gathered together the Gentiles and a numerous and great army from Samaria to make war against Israel. Gentiles is people, foreigners, nations. And Samaria, watch mountain, watch station. Okay, to make war against Israel. And Judas understood it, and went forth to meet him, and he overthrew him, and killed him, and many fell down slain, and the rest fled away. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that K word. He kicked him. And he stood... Oh, and he took their spoils, and Judas took the sword of Apollonius and fought with it all his lifetime. So he, kicked him and fought with his sword for the rest of his life, which is super badass. All right. Judas defeats Suron. And Suron, captain of the army of Syria, heard that Judas had assembled a company of the faithful and a congregation with him, and he said, I will get me a name, and I will be glorified in the kingdom, and will overthrow Judas and those who are with him that have despised the edict of the king. And he made himself ready, and the host of the wicked went up with him, strong. So this word is Succors, so it's like suckers. I don't know. Aiding those who are tempted or suffering. Suckers. Okay. And he made himself ready, and the host of the wicked went up with him, strong suckers, to be revenged of the children of Israel. And they approached even as far as Beth-horon, and Judas went forth to meet him with a small company. But when they saw the army coming to meet them, they said to Judas, How shall we, being few, be able to fight against so great a multitude and so strong? And we are ready to faint with fasting today. And Judas said, It is an easy matter for many to be shut up in the hands of few, and there is no difference in the sight of the God of heaven to deliver with a great multitude or with a small company. For the success of war is not in the multitude of the army, but the strength cometh from heaven. They come against us with an insolent multitude and with pride, and destroy us and our wives and our children and our spoils. But we will fight for our lives and our laws, and the Lord himself will overthrow them before our face. But as for you, fear them not. And as soon as he had made an end of speaking, he rushed suddenly upon them, and Suron and his host were overthrown before him. And he pursued him by the descent of Beth-horon even to the plain, and there fell of them 800 men, and the rest fled into the land of the Philistines. The fame of Judas grows, and the fear of Judas and his brethren, and the dread of them fell upon all the nations round about them, and his fame came to the king, and all nations told of the battle of Judas. Antiochus prepares to attack Judas. Now, when King Antiochus heard these words, he was angry in his mind, and he sent and gathered the forces of all his kingdom and exceeding strong army. And he opened his treasury and gave out pay to the army for a year, and he commanded them that they should be ready for all things. And he perceived that the money of his treasures failed, and that the tributes of the country were small because of the dissension because of the dissension and the evil that he had brought upon the land, that he might take away the laws of old times. Well, now you're broke because everyone's dissension. Ain't that about a bitch? Lysias ordered to destroy the Jews, and he feared that he should not have as formerly enough for charges and gifts. Aw, you don't get your Walmart card, your little gift cards, to go spread some fucking bullshit. Alright, that's another story. Which he had given before with a liberal hand, for he had abounded more than the kings that had been before him. And he was greatly perplexed in mind, and proposed to go to Persia and take tributes of the countries, and to gather much money. And he left Lysias, a nobleman of blood royal, to oversee the affairs of the kingdom from the river Euphrates even to the river of Egypt, and to bring up his son Antiochus till he came again. And he delivered to him half the army and the elephants, and gave him charge concerning all he would have done, and concerning the inhabitants of Judah and Jerusalem, and that he should send an army against them to destroy and root out the strength of Israel and the remnant of Jerusalem, and to take away the memory of them from that place, and that he should settle strangers to dwell in all their coasts, and divide their land by lot. So the king took the half of the army that remained, and went forth from Antioch, the chief city of his kingdom, in the 147th year, and he passed over the river Euphrates and went through the higher countries. I wish I had water right here. I don't. I'm just gonna. I am parched. Okay. We're almost done. Lysias orders the invasion of Judah. When Lysias chose Ptolemy, the son of Dorymenes, and Nicanor, and Gorgias, mighty men of the king's friends, and he sent with them 40,000 men and 7,000 horsemen to go into the land of Judah, and to destroy it according to the king's orders. So they went forth with all their power, and came and pitched near Emmaus in the plain country. And the merchants of the countries heard the fame of them, and they took silver and gold in abundance, and servants, and they came into the camp to buy the children of Israel for slaves. And they were joined to them the forces of Syria and the land of the strangers. Judas prepares to fight. And Judas and his brethren saw that evils were multiplied, and that the armies approached to their borders, and they knew the orders the king had given to destroy the people and utterly abolish them. And they said, every man to his neighbor, let us rise up the low condition of our people, and let us fight for our people and our sanctuary. And the assembly was gathered that they might be ready for battle, and that they might pray and ask for mercy and compassion. So that is, I'm not sure what chapter, but it is verse 44. And the assembly was gathered that they might be ready for battle, and that they might pray and ask for mercy and compassion. Now Jerusalem was not inhabited, but was like a desert. There were none of her children that went in or out, and the sanctuary was trodden down, and the children of strangers were in the castle. There was the habitation of the Gentiles, and joy was taken away from Jacob, and the pipe and harp ceased there. Prayer and fasting for the victory. And they assembled together and came to Mosphah over against Jerusalem, for in Mosphah was a place of prayer, therefore in Israel. And they fasted that day, and put on haircloth, and put ashes upon their heads, and they rent their garments, and they laid open the books of the law in which the Gentiles searched for the likeness of their idols. And they brought the priestly ornaments and the first fruits and tithes, and stirred up the Nazarites that had fulfilled their days, and they cried out a loud voice toward heaven, saying, What shall we do with these, and whither shall we carry them? For thy holies are trodden down and are profaned, and thy priests are in mourning and are brought low. And behold, the nations are come together against us to destroy us. Thou knowest what they intend against us. How shall we be able to stand before their face, unless thou, O God, help us? Then they sounded with trumpets and cried with a loud voice. Judas organizes his army. And after this, Judas appointed captains over the people, over thousands and over hundreds and over fifties and over tens. And he said to them that were building houses, or had betrothed wives, or were planting vineyards, or were fearful that they should return every man to his house according to the law. So they removed the camp and pitched on the south side of Emmaus. And Judas said, Guard yourselves and be valiant men, and be ready against the morning, that you might fight with these nations that are assembled against us to destroy us and our sanctuary. For it is better for us to die in battle than to see the evils of our nation and the holies. Nevertheless, as it shall be the will of God in heaven, so be it done. Nevertheless, as it shall be the will of God in heaven, so be it done. And I had already named this page Will of God. I was going to do this channel with a man named Will, and that's why I named it that. He's very educated, but I found that when we were working together, I thought I would be too shy. And, he's got a lot to say, and I just thought, okay, I feel called to do this, but I'm going to let him do it. Like, I can't. But as I was sitting there doing the video with him, he kept, not focusing on the book, and not in a terrible way. Like, he's a great man. He's got a lot, and all, he loves God, but he's so educated that he just kept going off on different stories. And I was trying to really just make it about the book, right? And love you, Will. And so I just had to do it myself. But that's why it was called The Will of God. And when I was reading, something had told me when I was, doing my little study, something had told me to stop here before I'd gotten there. And then when I got there and I saw that, it was just like a confirmation, like the will of God. So be it done, all right. I'm sure there was like something I was going to say. I don't know. I'm going to get better about, I can't even like look at myself in the camera. It's been a long life. I know I look young, but man, tired. And somehow the confidence has, I'm sure I was born with it, but it's gone. I don't know who took it. A lot of people took it. And I'll get it back. And anyone who's feeling like they want to do something and they're just not sure, and this is me telling you that, yeah, it's hard, that it's worth it. Even while it's hard, it's worth it. And I know this. Especially if what you're doing is for God and you feel called to do it by God. Do it. Don't wait. Okay. Bye. Bye again.